Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Zero BS with Steven and Jess. Obviously, I'm Jess. Do I state the obvious?
I'm Steven.
Yeah. So we are very, very excited to be on this new venture, this new chapter of our journeys. But I suppose we want to firstly thank you guys so much for all the support that we've received so far. We only launched this, we're currently recording this like 48 hours after we actually announced that we're starting the show. But for those of you who may not know, I have my own podcast called Just Chatting. And we realized when I asked Steven to be a guest on my own podcast, we realized that there was so much we could have talked about more. And we kind of thought, why not start our own show? And now here we are.
Yep. We had an episode today. Jess asked me to come on and talk about the BS in the fitness industry, which I am in the fitness industry now. I think it'll be 10 years in 2023. So I've seen it all. I've done it all. I've made lots of mistakes. And I think after the conversation myself and Jess had, as she said, we could have talked for hours. And then we got into more stuff that we've done and experienced with clients and ourselves. And we said, you know what, we could help some people with this. So it happened overnight, didn't it, Jess?
Pretty much overnight. I think it was the most just spur of the moment decision. But I think even right now, I think as I'm sitting here, I'm truly confident that this is going to be a success. I think both our missions as coaches is that if we can help one person every single day, that's our job done. We get so much fulfillment of that. So I think with this podcast episode, if you are listening and if it helps you in some way, regardless of what topic we discuss, we'll feel truly fulfilled. So I think it's going to be a very, very exciting venture, because I suppose we're not totally aware of a lot of podcast episodes that are like this style, particularly with us two, individuals. We're both coaches. Steven has been in the industry quite a long time. I'm only pretty new into the industry. I'm only a year working as a coach.
I still can't get over that.
I love how we look like a lie that I've these years and years of experience, but I suppose
not a bad thing.
Make it till you make it.
Right.
But really, really excited. So this first episode, we are going to talk about overtraining. So this was definitely a very, I suppose it was such an easy decision to actually talk about this in our first episode. Both of us having gone through similar but very different journeys when it comes to overtraining. And I suppose it's something that we do see as coaches. We see it online, we see it with their own clients. I suppose it's really helping people understand the impacts that overtraining can have in our lives. And I'm really, really excited to go into this topic. I think a lot of people will probably relate to it in some way. So Steven, do you want to kick it off with your first?
Now overtraining, you might hear it's not just weight training. It's here we go, it's cursing. You cannot stop moving, basically. And you get quite addicted to the training, to the cardio, to the steps, to your Apple Watch is a major one I see. And people trying to, now again, my experience, I've done it myself, trying to burn off a certain amount of calories a day, trying to hit 20,000 steps a day, and just plucking these numbers and trying to hit them on a daily basis, while everything else in the background is starting to struggle. And as coaches, I was speaking to Jess off air, and there's a reason that us coaches will give you X amount of training, X amount of cardio, and X amount of steps. We want you to reach your goals as coaches in the most safest and healthiest way possible.
100%.
And I believe when you're a coach, if we're listening to a client each week and helping them, I believe it is up to the client to listen to us on what we advise. Because, Jess, I've had a few clients that did what I did. I was training for whatever it was, we're going away or something, but I was foot to the floor. My coach said, do 3 sessions. I do 6. He'd say, do 3 cardios. I do 7. He'd say, do 10,000 steps. I do 20. I think I told you at one stage, yes, I would not stop until I hit 30,000 steps on my activity app. Would not stop. And lo and behold, the inevitable happens. And like I said, I kept doing it because the rate of the progress I was seeing and the differences in my body composition I was seeing, it was like an addiction.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm doing really well. I'm gonna up the ante. But lo and behold, like I said, when you have to go back to your coach gave you these things for a reason, and then I obviously found out the hard way with essentially burning out, which we will dive into. And have you Have you ever had the like, I cannot stop training?
Yeah, so when I started getting into fitness in July 2019, and when I started, like, I suppose, like, I started my fitness journey from a self-esteem point of view. Like, I kind of went briefly actually into this in our podcast episode there a few weeks ago. Like, I was getting no fulfillment and no satisfaction from areas of my life. So
Yeah.
I needed to fulfill myself in some way. And like, just for anyone that's kind of wondering what you mean by fulfillment, like, I mean general happiness. Like, I was living a very life where I was like, this is just boring. I was getting no like joy from my work, or, you know, I was just literally coming home, watching Netflix, sleeping, repeat. Wasn't going out socializing or making friends, because I was living in Australia at the time. So when I joined the gym, and I remember going that first time, again, it was like satisfaction. I was like, oh my God, like, I feel amazing, because it was obviously different set of hormones that were now running through my body. I was getting all these endorphin rushes. And that's what got addicting for me, because there was nothing that was going on in my life. So, you know, it's not as if like I had like my family in Ireland, because obviously my family in Australia, they were back in Ireland. I had no partner. I didn't have many friends. So I wasn't getting the connection that I was, again, fulfillment, happiness. So that's why I got into fitness, to get that some sort of bit of a rush in my body. So that's how I got addicted. I was training, you know, 4 or 5 times a week. Then was training 6 days a week. The gym actually only opened up 6 days a week, but if it was open 7 days, 100% would have gone. But I would basically go in first thing in the morning before I started work. And then on the way home from work, I'd go in and do a second session. So I was training twice a day. But of course, I was under eating as well. So I don't really know what I was running on other than adrenaline. So that's how my addiction got. So I wasn't necessarily physique focused. It was more like, I just need, I need a kick. That's what it was. It was just, I need a kick. So that's where my addiction lit.
It's interesting, isn't it? That like I love that. I love the fact that like mine was more like physical fulfillment and yours mental. But like I was the same. I'd be doing double sessioning, and then I'd be obviously under eating. And obviously, when you do them things combined, you're going to see a rapid increase in performance.
Yes.
And then I got to the stage where like I was hosting like 5:30 a.m. classes in the gym, and I'd be saying to the staff group. I only spoke to Martin about this the other day. I'd be like, "Who's training with me tomorrow morning at 5:30?" And I'd actually be getting angry when no one would, because I was like, I have to, and I became so obsessed with it. And I started trying to make it the norm, and people were like, you need to relax. It would be like 5:30 in the morning, cardio for an hour, clients 9 to 1 or 2. I'd walk home, which is another, say, 10-15,000 steps. I'd walk back to the gym. I'd take my clients. I'd train again. Then I'd go for another walk. And looking from the outside in, it's fucked up. It's not normal behavior. But when you're in this, like, not a trance, but when you're in it, you're like, oh no, this is me. Like Ashling, my girlfriend, she said to me, like, do you remember the phase you went through? Like, I'd send her a picture of me out for a walk at 4:30 in the morning, just getting up, be like, right, bang, I have to move.
Yeah.
And again, we've done it the hard way. I've done it the hard way. I said to Jess off air there again. I literally started hallucinating. We were sitting in one night, like, God bless Ashling, because like she was coming over, and at the time we lived separately, so she would come over at 7 p.m, and I wouldn't have seen her all week because you're so busy, and I'm falling asleep on the couch. So it actually can affect everything around you, like the social occasions, the relationships, and we're just trying to normalize that it's not normal to be doing this kind of thing. And regardless of what you hear now, some occasions, like you spoke about, Jess, prep, photo shoot, there is scenarios where you're going to have to go balls to the wall for a specific deadline. But if you are a general population coming into my program or your program, you do not have to train 5, 6, 7 times a week.
Yeah. And I think it's just like less is more. And I think something that you kind of touched upon there is that, like, from the outside in, of course, that what you were doing was not normal behavior, but some people will view it as, oh shit, like I need to do that. Like I need to do that to achieve the results. Or, you know, people are like, oh my God, you must be so healthy because you train all the time. Again, people are going to like label that as like, oh my God, that's really healthy. Like they go to the gym all the time and they go out for their walks. Their health must be absolutely amazing. But it's actually just like, no, they're literally passing a limit where it's like, this is not healthy. It's addiction. And it's getting focused on the results. And then it's the whole like body check and be like, okay, is my like how many like do a 6-pack today? You know, how do I look today? How do my glutes look? And it's just an obsession. And you know, it's quite unfortunate that people would be like, oh, they look really healthy. And I'm like, you do not know how they're feeling on the inside. And you know, again, like you know, Aisling had to like basically tell you to be like, what's going on, because it was not healthy behavior that you were feeling that way. And that is said, like getting people up at 5:30. If you told me that, I would be like, feck off. Like, I'm not getting up at 5:30. What's wrong with you?
Literally me, like I'll have to show you the screenshots of like, who's with me tomorrow morning, 5:30, 50 minutes of Prowler, X, Y, and Z. And I'd be getting no replies. And I'd be like, yes, bottlers not. I'm actually getting pretty wound up over it. Do you know what I mean? And then like even Martin was like, will you fucking get a life? I was like, no, this is normal. And then like you said, people, like I was all about that 24/7 grind. We'll sleep when we're dead, no days off. And then lo and behold, you absolutely crash and look like an idiot. Like myself and Ashley, we went away to, I'm going to get this wrong, I always get it wrong. I think it was Tenerife, or maybe Lanzarote, one of them. I always get them wrong.
The Spanish Islands, it's all right.
Yeah, one of them places. But like I did that up until that holiday, low calorie, 7 days a week weight, 7 cardios, 30,000 steps to look a specific way for a holiday. And lo and behold, the fucking minute I got to the airport, crashed, more food, exhaustion on the holiday, really tired, not wanting to do this. And then it just becomes selfish. Yeah. And that's why like you do this car crash of like all this training, all this cardio, and then you go away and you essentially like you're on holidays and you're eating this food and you start like getting more body fat, looking more different, holding more water. Now, that could be a conversation for a different day about like body image, etc. But it all played a part. Like I knew I had this holiday. It was about 4 years ago, I think. I knew I had the holiday, and I had to do everything in my power to look the leanest I was. But I didn't think of the holiday. I didn't think of Aisling. I didn't think of how the holiday would go, how tired I would be. I come back from the holiday looking like a bag of soup. Do you know what I mean? I was just all over the place, like just pretty fucked up. And then the whole thing comes into, what have I done? I used to look a certain way, and then you go, and then you rinse and repeat, and it's just look, the main long story short is like it will end in like really, really bad circumstances.
Yeah, but when did you find, like, you know, when you were doing all this and the constant like 30K steps and all this stuff, like did you have a vision of like, when I get this, then I'll be done? Like what was the whole, like, obviously as I said, you were addicted to the body image style, but when did you feel like, okay, when I look like this, then I'm done? Like what were you actually working towards?
The holiday.
So
do you know we spoke about the other day about the 12-week thing?
Yeah.
I did a 12-week transformation, and I said to Aisling, I'm going to be this fella's best transformation, mark my words. And then she was like, oh, I know you will, please don't go to that place. And then we booked a holiday. It was in, I think it was in April for, I think August, maybe, whatever it was. It was 12 weeks. And I was like, in my head, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get to 12 weeks. And that's why I have that not negative mindset, but the deadlines that have to look a certain way. And we spoke about it in the first podcast, that again, I was living proof that I got to that 12 weeks. And again, what I lost in 12 weeks, I promise you, 4 or 5 weeks from that holiday, I was back to square one, more or less.
Yeah.
And that fucks your head up. That fucks your head up, because you know how much you've done and how hard you worked. And to put it back on that quickly, it can play games. And it's not the coach's fault. It was my fault. I'm the client. I listened to the coach. My coach said, Stephen, do X, Y, and Z. And I did fucking A, B, and C by 10.
Yeah.
And then they're back at square one. So that's why I'm trying to, even with my clients now, like I had a guy who was doing really well, and I saw him in me. I saw me in him. He was filling his check-in sheet, 40,000 steps, five cardios, 4 weight sessions. The pictures each week were going, he was getting too skinny. And I said, mate, you have to pull back. It's going to happen. What happened to me will happen to you. I promise you this. Please listen to me. And again, in fairness to him, he wasn't lying to me. He kept sending me the same check-in. Some weeks he dropped like 2 kg in 1 week, which is a bit much for my for my pace. And then lo and behold, yes, 1 week he doesn't check in. I call him, he doesn't answer. 2 weeks passed, he doesn't check in. I'd call him out in the WhatsApp group, in the members, nothing. And then about 5 or 6 weeks later, I went to where he worked. Now, not fucking stalking him, but I didn't know he worked there. And I walked in, and he turned around and he kind of walked away. And when I say, like, he didn't look the same as he did in check-ins. So in my head, I'm like, he's after crashing, going backwards, putting it back on. And he's basically, it was literally a blueprint to what I did. And I said to him, you have to, again, at the time I said, you have to listen to me here. And he didn't listen, but it was just so, it's just facts. When you go at that pace and overtrain, the end result will not be what you think. You think you'll get you where you want to be, but you'll get there. And like we said, when you do these things in stupid time frames and you restrict yourself that much, you will go back to where you were. I did, and then he did. So if it's just about kind of raising awareness that you do, like, no matter what you see on Instagram about no days off, 24/7 grind, all this bollocks, it's nonsense.
It is, and it's just but obviously, like, this is like, you know, like whatever 4 years ago, social media would still be as prominent what it is now, but like it's just awful to see people kind of go through that. And I suppose, like, look, this is probably a different podcast episode within itself, but the whole actually just doing, or like taking your coach's recommendations, I feel, because that's what you didn't do. You, like, your coach was like, yeah, I want you this, and you were like, I'm going to triple that amount of work. And it's just like, your coach, again, hopefully most of coaches out there want the best for you. And it's like, please take their advice. But it's just, and it's hard when you see people who are like, oh, well, I did this, and this instead. I'm like, no. Why are you doing that? And it's like, you know, if you're coming to a coach, you need to trust them. And I feel a lot of people don't trust their coach. And that's why we go that back way, be like, oh yeah, this, that, but I'm actually going to do 3 times the amount of work. It's like, that's a bit too slow for me or whatever. It's like, what is the rush? Why aren't you trusting your coach who has the knowledge, who's probably been through some similar situation or has coached someone in a similar position to you? Why don't you just listen to them? And because, like, if you're paying for a service, like if I'm paying you X amount per month, I'm going to listen to what you say, because I'm like, okay, Steven has a lot of knowledge. He's probably worked with some people similar to me. So I'm actually going to listen and do what he is advising, because he knows where he wants to be in 6 months' time or in a year's time, or knows what my goal is. But it's just like, it's really disheartening, I think, when you see someone who just doesn't listen to you. And I'm like,
and you know what? They're actually trying to impress you.
That's the thing. Be like, oh, I want to get you a good transformation photo. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about the transformation photo. I don't care, because that's not what's important to me. I'm like, if I get someone who does amazing transformation within like 6-9 months, amazing. But what you do between week 1 and week 8, like, that's, you're not even like hitting the surface there. You're literally just the tip of the iceberg. Literally is back of that photo. I love the photo. If anyone's watching on YouTube, you'll see the photo that's playing Steven.
I'm gonna get you that picture for behind you.
Oh my god, yeah, could you imagine, just put it there. I actually do have a thing on the wall where I can actually put a photo on. So happy days. So, but yeah, it's again really relating back to the unrealistic time frames and stuff like that. And it's like, you shouldn't be, and actually, Joe, it's actually very funny. Again, another podcast episode. But again, I feel like a lot of this does relate to what we're talking about. Impressing a coach. Like, I don't care. Like, if you've done 5,000 steps extra, now this is obviously coming off from a place of meanness, but like, it doesn't matter to me. It's your body, it's your life. I will give you the recommendations for you to follow if you want to achieve a certain way, sustainably long term. But if you're going above and beyond, like, you're looking for self-gratification, you might as well be posting a bikini photo on Instagram and hoping like people will like it. We live in a constant world where we need like someone to be like, oh my god, that's amazing. I feel like when people post like they're like, oh, someone got engaged or someone, you know, bought a new house, it's like people just need that like instant kick. It's a kick.
Yeah. And like what impresses me with a client, Steven, I hit fucking 10 kilos more in a deadlift. Steven, I stuck to my calories the weekend. I wasn't anxious around food. I love all that shit. But when someone comes in, I did 6 cardios this week. Oh, you're hard. Like, fair play to you. What, you want a fucking medal? This is what I try to tell you. You're going to burn out. And I said to this bloke many times, you're going down that road. I went and he was just losing it by the week, looking better by the week. But I just knew it was a car crash waiting to happen. And it's just, that's why I just think the importance of listen to your coach, because I'm telling you now, even if the coach, even in your head, if you're doing 3 sessions a week with 2 or 3 cardios and 10,000 steps, and you're in a, say, a deficit, you're going to get results, and it's not going to take fucking ages.
Yeah.
Like, they just think they want it tomorrow, because it goes back to the whole social media thing. I saw 12 weeks in that person, but like we said, you don't know how many times they trained, you don't know what calories they're on, and it all stems back to social media and these numbers. But I have guys that will be on 12 weeks, say, and in 12 weeks they got the same results more or less that I did, and I absolutely messed myself up and ended up in the doctors with getting blood done because I couldn't peel myself out of bed anymore.
Yeah. Like, again, people don't take that into consideration. It's all visual, like your situation. Whereas like with me, like, I realized I wasn't, like, I was just feeling shite all the time. That's how I was feeling. So like, that's when I was like, I was trying to like teach myself to be like, okay, like, how am I going to like fuel my body? How am I going to feel better about this? Like this, I was again so addicted to the adrenaline side of it that I didn't realize the impact it was probably having on my health. Being like, okay, why aren't I performing well at work? You know, why aren't I wanting to even go out for dinner with my friends, or, you know, go out to meet people? It was just like, no, it's all the gym, and that's what my life is, and whatever. And, you know, that's what I had to reach out to a coach, because I was like, I'm not educated. I'm not going to waste my time on Google looking at all these like keto diets I can try, and bloody 1,200 calories. And, you know, that's when I had to reach out for a coach. And again, people reach out for a coach when things are at rock bottom. But I'm like, it can actually save you so much time and money if you actually reach out to a coach when you're literally just starting, because you're going to save yourself the whole, oh, I'm after coming from this background, I'm after doing like 6,000 diets and sure that put the weight back on or whatever. And it's like, you need to reach out sooner rather than later. Yeah,
because when you do it on your own, like, again, I did it before that coach as well. Like a few years ago, I did it. Like, it was, again, training every day, cardio every day, eating bare minimum and seeing results. Like, of course, you're going to see results when you're eating bare minimum and doing all the cardio and training. And see when you were doing that, were you coachless when you were doing the flat out all the training? You know,
yeah, I was that was all me. So like from like July 2019 until November, so that's whatever 4 or 5 months on my own completely. Just now in the gym there was personal trainers, but they don't see it. They're like, I'm coming in absolutely like, oh yeah, I'm so excited, buzzing and whatever, and like stuff like that. So but I was pretending like everything was fine, because I was like, oh yeah, this is fine. Like I'm addicted to training and whatever. But like I wasn't like progressing in terms of like, you know, like if I was like lifting weights, I was lifting the same weights each week. I wasn't progressive overloading. Again, that was something I was still learning at the time, what actually progressive loading was. But, you know, I'd be kind of wondering, being like, so basically how the gym kind of worked, it was all like high intensity classes. So basically it's like 12 rounds of 3 minutes. So you're doing 3 minutes of intense, whatever, if it was boxing, if it was like doing like, I don't know, some sort of like renegade rows or whatever, like you're doing 3 minutes of that. Like it's very, very intense. And then you do a 30-second break and you move on to the next one. So it's a full on like good 45, 50 minutes or whatever. But I'd be wondering why the hell after a minute, I'm like, I'm so unfit. And then I'd be like, oh my God, but I need to keep going. I need to keep showing up more so that I'm not unfit. So again, people assumed it because I was training that much, I was so fit and everything was great. But like, I wasn't really sleeping. Like I was very lethargic, and you know, I was eating, but I was just, again, trying to remove all carbs. So at the time, so I was like, Jesus Christ. But, you know, I remember messaging my then coach as well. And I said to her, like, this is what I'm doing. And she was, and I found the messages a few weeks ago, and I'm just like, how did I let it get that bad? But again, I was so unaware of what I was doing and how, like, if I kept going at that rate, God knows where I'd be today. Like, I really don't know. And I think a lot of people don't know the implications of if you're doing that, like what can actually happen. So obviously with you ended up hallucinating. That was one of the things that you experienced. But like, what else did you experience?
Fully, like, I swear, we were sitting, my sister and my brother-in-law went away on a honeymoon, and my sister said, will you come over to the house? I said, lovely. So me and Ash sat in, and again, 6:30, and I'm falling asleep on the couch, like, again, because I'm so tired. And I go, well, what the fuck is that like? She's like, what? And I just saw like black mist on like near the ceiling. And I went over and I tried to like wave away the mist. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm losing my fucking mind here. And that's when she was like, you need to relax. Like, and then after that, I think that was actually about 2 days before the holiday. You know what I mean? So it was to an end, like, but the thing is, like, you might look good, but like, when you start asking yourself the questions, how do I feel? How is my sleep? How is my energy? How is my relationship with my girlfriend? How is my relationship with my friends? Am I missing out on occasions? Like, I started getting more awkward around people. Do you know what I mean? Because I was just so in this world of go, go, go. I must look better. I must train harder. And again, I just hate the way we still see it to this day. And it's just, I just, not again, because this is a small podcast. This isn't going to hit numbers that are fucking astronomical. Like, but I feel if there will be people listening to these podcasts that are going through this thing, that they're in autopilot and they are looking great. But I'm telling you here and now, it won't end pretty. If you're going at the rate that we went, cardio every day, steps every day, in a fucking, like, a massive calorie deficit. Like, there is such thing, as you know, as too big a calorie deficit. Because like, I got to the airport going on holidays, and it was kind of like, I essentially nearly relapsed. Do you get me? I was like, it's done, it's over. Food, drink, crisps, airplane, landing over there, more of the same. The next day, looking at myself going, oh my God, what have I done? And then you've just absolutely not ruined the holiday, but your head is absolutely fucked. Absolutely fucked. Whereas now, obviously, we talk about long-term sustainability, doing it over a certain period of time, approaching the holidays a bit more healthier, going on holidays and enjoying yourself, coming back, getting back to it, instead of this 12 to 16 week block of foot to the floor, go on holidays. Because I have people, like, back in the day when I was training people one-to-one, I told you I was doing the exact same thing I'm talking about now. I was doing 6-week blocks, 12-week blocks, and people were going on holidays, and I wouldn't hear from them again because they did exactly what I did. Like, so again, I'm never going to come on these podcasts and start bashing, because everything I've gone through, I've done with clients. I've seen repercussions, like, so. So like, if you're listening and you are doing this, just listen to your coach, because we obviously know a thing or two of getting you in it's going to be, health's going to be at the forefront every single time. Do you know what I mean? And back in the day, I don't think it was. And even to this day, as much as people like to think it, I think they're looking at how they look more than how they feel. Yeah.
That's the thing, like, people aren't aware of how it can affect, as you said, your relationships around you, your sleep, your hormones. Like, from a female point of view, if you lose your cycle, that's not something that, you know, that could be normalized. Again, we normalize and glamorize overtraining, but even from, like, a work perspective, like, even being self-employed, people glamorize the whole 24/7 hustles. When I started coaching and when I went, like, full-time, like, self-employed, I thought, geez, like, I cannot sleep. Like, I need to work 24/7. Like, I need to make this business a success. And, you know, I need to be earning 10K a month. If I'm not earning 10K a month, I'm a fucking failure. So there's all these constant advertisements in a way, because social media is like basically an advertisement, and you kind of feel this unnecessary pressure. So, like, even yesterday, like, I was at an event in Manchester surrounded by coaches, but I had this sickness in my stomach where I was like, I need to message my clients, see if they're okay. Like, I have this constant thing, because I've now got to a stage where I'm like, am I burning myself out? And I can't admit it, because even, like, and again, like, overtraining and a lot of these things, guys, you know, if you are someone who's actually a coach and you feel like, you know, you are being burnt out, like, again, being burnout is a obviously common, like, thing of overtraining as well. And it's important to actually ask yourself, how are you feeling? Like, do you feel, oh God, like, I feel guilty when I say no to a night out with the lads. Oh, I can't go out with the girls for brunch on Saturday because, like, I need to train. And if you're going in doing your training sessions, like, how long are they taking you? Like, there's so many questions that we could literally, like, give you. I think that's what we could actually do at the end of the podcast. Like, we're actually going to, like, could give you a task, and we're going to give you questions and write out the answers. Like, if you are watching on YouTube, if you are sitting down watching this, like, take notes on your phone, and, like, we can actually give you the questions, and you'll see yourself.
It's the trends thing, Jesse. If you start noticing trends that you're doing, you're going down the route that we went. Like,
how do you stop? Like, how do you stop for a second? I think, because again, we live in a very fast-paced society, so it's very hard to be like, I don't have time to sit down and, like, think about it. It's like, oh, I'll just keep doing it and wait until
people stop when they crash.
Like what you did in the
I would have kept going, other than that I fucking couldn't move out of bed. Like there's 55,000 steps in a marathon. So when you're doing 20,000 steps every day, you're doing a half marathon.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's what my coach said to me. And I was like, oh shit.
Oh my God, I didn't realize.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 55,000 steps in a marathon. Sometimes it's 62,000. Just double checking it here. And again, when you're doing 20,000 steps a day, you're doing half a marathon every single day. So it's fucking utter madness. But again, here we go. Social media, 10K steps. Why? Says who? You know
but
I mean?
now I will say, and as well, and we said it at the start of this podcast, right? So I'm a competitor. I compete. So I will have to go to the deep ends of like maybe doing 20,000 steps,
100%.
7 days a week. So it's important to remember, if you are not competing, if you're not doing a photo shoot, and you're just part of the general population, and you're just, wanting to lose a bit of body fat or whatever, you don't have to go to the deep roots of what I'm doing. So like, even from my perspective, I don't post about how many, let's say my prep starts next month. I probably won't be posting about how many calories I'm on. I won't be posting about how many cardio sessions I'm doing, because that's going to be pressure. That's like, unfortunately, that will probably pressure someone to be like, oh God, Jess is doing that. Sure, I have to do that now as well. And it's like, no, it's the same with the whole, like, what I eat in a day. Oh, well, she's eating that, so I have to eat that. And it's always remembering, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, like I can't, like, I'm not going to eat what you eat, and likewise, someone should never be eating what I'm eating or doing the amount of training sessions that I am. So like, even like when people ask me like, oh, how many training sessions you're doing, it's a common question I get asked in my question box. And I'll always say to people, I'm like, this is how often I train, but that doesn't mean you need to train that. Because I will always keep emphasizing, I'm a competitor. This is what I do. So it's not, oh, I'm just, training for a certain physique. I'm literally putting my body through the deep ends to go on stage and be judged. As horrible as it sounds, but that's literally
you're winning a prize there. Do you know what I mean? And you are a competitor. Like when I did my prep, again, we'll talk about it, I was doing 7 cardios a week. I was doing 20,000 steps because there's a deadline, there's a photo shoot, the shows, and you fucking absolutely have to do that, if not more, when you're on that kind of side of it. And we'll go into that in our prep episode.
Yeah.
But for John coming in, who wants to lose a bit of weight, get stronger, be a bit more healthy, lose a bit more body fat, be a bit more confident, 20,000 steps a day, 5 to 6 cardios a week with your weights is absolutely not needed.
Yeah, especially if it's just like, I'm just thinking about like how it just affects so much of your around you. It impacts your environment. Like, yes, it impacts yourself, but also impacts your environment. Like and it's tough, like, because even like, I suppose, like, from like even a personal side, like, I wasn't even like, when I was in Australia, I wasn't going on dates because I was like, I have no time. I can't be with someone because like I need to look after myself and I need to constantly train and whatever. And like, even now, like, even trying to find a partner now, I'm like, oh God, like, they need to understand like my lifestyle, and like, oh God, like what will they think if, like, and like, could I bring someone into my life where like they understand competing and stuff like that. So even thinking about how you and Aisling, like, from a relation point of view, and like, from the romantic side, like, like, again, you probably weren't even going on date nights and stuff like that. So just even think about that side as well. People just think like, oh, but it matters what I look, and like, I'll get a partner when I look a certain way. And it's just, it's like, but you don't even realize, like, as blunt as weird as this might sound, you may not be able to have sex if you literally have no sex drive because you're literally under eating and you're overtraining. Again, people don't really realize, I suppose, again, people don't understand the implications that it can have. And that's why I always think about, like, with the relationship side of things or your friends or whatever, like, again, it can have like so many impacts, not just on your physical body, but also the people around you, because like
you're looking great, but you've nothing in you. Like you've no sex drive, you've no energy, you've no motion, you've no communication, you've no social skills, and there you are lying on the couch ripped, great, for what? And that's when it hits like, what am I doing here?
Like, if you have kids, if you want to go and set an example for your kids, and like your nieces or nephews or whatever people around you in your life, and if you're constantly just like over, like, you need to think about this. Like, if you saw someone who was doing this, like, let's say if I saw you, like, let's say when Aisling saw you going through all that, she's going to feel like, oh my God, like, what can I do to help? And you just, she's there trying to talk to you, being like, Steven, like, please, like, go after yourself. So like, look at yourself the way you would look at someone else going through that situation. Like, take yourself out of your body And again, a lot of this comes back to self-talk and self-love. And I'm a big advocate of that, because like, if you keep telling yourself, I'm too fat, if you had your friend say that about themselves, you'd be like, cop the hell on. You're not. Stop talking to yourself that way. So it's about applying the same principle of how you would talk to a friend and talk about yourself. You do not need to feel so negative about yourself, regardless of what you look like, how much body fat is on your body. And again, if people just don't really practice self-love. And I know like some people are like, oh, it's fucking voodoo, whatever. Like, I'm a big tough lad. I'm like, it actually is so important to your mindset, because that will reflect into your actions. So if you feel like crap about yourself and you feel like, oh, well, I don't look great, and sure, all the lads are looking really good, you're just going to again into this vicious cycle of like, I need to look like what my friends look like. And actually, that's something I see a lot in coaching. It's like, oh, but like, my friends look like this, so I have to look like that. I'm like, but why though? Why?
Yeah. Where's that step from? Like,
yeah. So it's a deeper issue that a lot of people like really, as I said, you need to think about right now. How are you feeling? What's going on in your body? Really tune in with it.
Yeah.
You can't keep going and have that crash and then be like, oh, now I need to reach out to a coach. It's like, no. If you're listening to this podcast and you're being aware and you're like, oh my God, I feel that way, this is now the time. If you're not working with the coach, reach out to them. Or if you haven't been truthful in your check-ins, start being truthful now. Because if you think that this podcast is going to be like, oh my God, that's hit me really hard, please be open with them and just be like, look, by the way, I've been doing this on the side. Or, even if it's the opposite way, like if you haven't been even adhering to your calorie deficit or whatever it is that you feel like you've been, brushing under the rug with your coach and pretending like everything's fine, you need to be honest with them so they can help you.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said there, Jess, that kind of leads you on to the trends I was talking about. Like, if you're aiming for 20,000 steps in a day, that's a red flag. If you're waking up in the morning and your body's fucking battered, that's a red flag. And you're dragging yourself to the gym, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
When you're not taking any rest days, that's a red flag. When you're comparing yourself to everyone else, social media, this, that, and the other, that's a red flag. And like I said, happened to me, happened to my client, happened to Jess. You will not pull back until you go into the self-sabotage of what I did. And like, unless you get present now and say it, you're going to keep going until, like I said, there'll be a trip, there'll be a holiday, there'll be an occasion, or there'll be a day when you can't get out of bed, what happened to me, and you had to go to the doctor, bloods, all this kind of crack, which we're going to dive into in the next episode, which should be pretty good. But for now, that's basically today's episode on the dangers and the insights to overtraining.
Yeah. So guys, I really hope you learned something from this episode as well. And like, look, as always, and what we'll say is like, obviously we have our Instagram page, we obviously have our YouTube here, we're on Spotify, Apple, so but then we also have our personal page as well. So please do reach out to either of us or our page that we have together on Instagram if you have any questions to us. Like, we're happy to help anyone, regardless if you're not one of our clients or you could be one of our future clients, or even if you're a coach yourself and you need some help, please do reach out. There's obviously knowledge between both of us, and we're really hoping that we can help people with future episodes as well. But I loved recording this podcast. It was really, really good. Yeah.
Good. It's just so crazy how fast it goes.
I know. It's just kind of like, oh my God, we could keep talking forever, but obviously we want to provide good quality. Again, quality over quantity. Again, we're literally setting the example by not overdoing it and over speaking. We want to provide good quality podcast episodes where you're getting value, you're getting knowledge, and again, hopefully you will take action as well. So again, if this podcast episode has helped you realize maybe I am overtraining, like, we really do hope that you get maybe the support you need and have a happier, healthier fitness journey as well.
Yeah, happier, healthier fitness approach.
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, guys, I think that is it. So please feel free to, I suppose, like, leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can obviously comment below on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment below if you would like to what other podcast episodes or topics that you would like to discuss as well. And of course, look, our DMs are always open if you have any questions or any feedback as well, and do share in your Instagram stories. We love seeing the feedback as well, so we'll obviously just appreciate it as well, because this is our first episode. So yeah, Stephen, anything else you want to say?
No, just delighted to get this thing going, and I feel that we can absolutely help some people along the way, given the experience we've had, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
And yeah, just keep an eye on, I hate saying that, keep an eye, watch this space, but
Yeah.
we do have some very interesting topics coming up, stuff that we haven't spoken about before,
Yeah.
that I know for a fact will help young men and women think twice about doing certain things. And the next episode will be out. What date? Sorry, we're recording in person in a couple of weeks, aren't we, Jess?
Yeah, we're recording in person. So the next episode will be live on the 25th, I think. I think the 25th is Monday. So we are doing an episode will go live every second Monday. That is the current schedule. So yeah, please do keep an eye on your whatever platform you're listening to is on every Monday. But yeah, look, this is a really, really exciting venture for Steven and I. So we really do hope that you get to enjoy the journey and learn.
Yep.
So guys, we will see you all in the next episode.